Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of Terra's Voice, watching the massive space station grow larger on the main screen. The Galactic Council headquarters was bigger than any human city, spinning slowly in the darkness between stars. Ships from dozens of different worlds moved around it like metal fish in a vast ocean. "First time seeing the Council station, Captain?" asked Dr. Lisa Park as she joined him at the viewing window. She carried a data pad filled with the information that would change everything, though she didn't know it yet. "Second time," Jake replied, "but it never gets old. Hard to believe we're actually members now." Lisa nodded. It had taken humanity 40 years to prove they belonged among the stars. 40 years of careful exploration, peaceful contact, and showing the galaxy that humans could be trusted. Now they had a voice in the government that ruled over 300 species across the galaxy. Commander Ryan Blake walked up behind him, his military uniform crisp and formal. "The Zephyrians have agreed to hear our presentation first," he said. "Then the Corthic Empire, then the Veil Consortium." "Good," Lisa said, though her stomach felt tight with worry. "Let's hope they listen." The three major powers of the galaxy were not easy to deal with. The Zephyrians were ancient beings who could read minds and thought they knew everything. The Corthic Empire was a military force that ruled through strength and fear. The Veil Consortium were mysterious energy creatures who controlled most of the galaxy's trade routes. All three groups looked down on humanity as newcomers who had barely left their home planet. Terra's Voice docked with the station. 2 hours later, Jake's crew stayed with the ship while he, Lisa, and Ryan took a shuttle to the main assembly hall. The hall was enormous, with seats for representatives from hundreds of worlds. Most of the seats were empty today, but the important ones were. Field. Ambassador Kate Sullivan met them at the entrance. She had been working with alien governments for 15 years and knew how to speak their languages. "Remember," she whispered to Lisa, "stay calm and stick to the facts. Don't let them intimidate you." Lisa walked to the center of the hall, where a holographic projector waited. The alien representatives watched her with various expressions of boredom and mild curiosity. To them, she was just another human with another small problem. "Honored representatives," Lisa began, "humanity brings urgent information to the Council today. Our scientists have discovered something that threatens every living world in the galaxy." A few aliens shifted in their seats. The Zephyrian delegate, a tall being with silver skin and glowing eyes, tilted its head slightly. The Corthic representative, a massive reptilian creature covered in dark scales, remained perfectly still. The Veil Consortium sent only a shimmering cloud of energy that hovered above their designated area. Lisa activated the hologram. A three-dimensional map of the galaxy appeared in the air, with thousands of red dots scattered throughout. "These are locations where our deep space scanners have detected ancient machinery," she said. "Machinery that doesn't belong to any known species." The Zephyrian delegate spoke without moving its mouth, its words appearing directly in everyone's minds. "Human technology is primitive. Your scanners detect many things that are not there." "With respect," Lisa replied, "we've confirmed these readings with physical investigations. We found actual structures on 17 different worlds. They're older than any civilization we know about. And they're waking up." She changed the hologram to show detailed scans of the ancient machines. They looked like massive metal flowers buried deep underground, with energy patterns flowing through them like blood through veins. "We believe these were built by a race we're calling the Architects," Lisa continued. "Based on our analysis, they were designed as weapons, planet-killing weapons. And something is causing them to activate." The Corthic delegate spoke in a voice like grinding stone. "If such weapons existed, the Empire would have found them long ago. Our military surveys every system. They're hidden deep underground," Lisa explained. Some are at the bottom of oceans, others buried in the cores of moons. They only become detectable when they start powering up. The Veil Consortium's energy cloud pulsed different colors, but said nothing. Lisa took a deep breath and showed the most frightening data. Based on current activation rates, we estimate that within 2 years, these weapons will be fully online. When that happens, they will sterilize every inhabited world in the galaxy. The hall erupted in noise. Alien voices spoke in dozens of languages, most of them dismissive. The Zephyrian delegate's mental voice cut through the chaos like a blade. Impossible. Our telepathic networks would have sensed such a threat centuries ago. The Zephyrian people have guarded this galaxy since before your species learned to make fire. The Korthic delegate slammed a massive fist on his chair's armrest. This is human fear-mongering. They seek to create panic so they can gain military advantages. Lisa felt her face getting red, but she kept her voice calm. We're not asking for military advantages. We're asking for help. These weapons can be stopped, but it will take the combined resources of all council species. What do you propose? Asked a delegate from one of the smaller species. Immediate evacuation of threatened worlds, Lisa said. Joint scientific missions to study the weapons. And find ways to disable them? And temporary restrictions on high-energy activities that might be triggering their activation. The Zephyrian delegate's laugh felt like ice water in everyone's minds. You ask us to abandon our worlds based on the theories of a species that has been in space for less than a century. You ask the Empire to show weakness by evacuating our people, the Korthic delegate added. This is unacceptable. Ambassador Sullivan stepped forward. The human government is willing to share all our research data freely. We're not asking you to trust us blindly. Send your own scientists to verify our findings. Unnecessary, the Zephyrian said. If such a threat existed, we would know. The vote was called quickly. 312 species voted against taking any action based on humanity's warning. Only 7 species voted in favor, and 5 of those were human colonies. Lisa stared at the results in disbelief. You're making a mistake, she said quietly. We're trying to save you. The council has spoken, the Korthic delegate announced. Humans will return to their territory and cease spreading panic among peaceful species. Jake felt his hands clench into fists as they walked back to their shuttle. 40 years, he muttered. 40 years of proving we belong here, and they treat us like children. Ryan was already on his communication device, sending encrypted messages back to Earth. Our observers near the frontier report unusual energy readings, he said quietly. The activation rate is accelerating. 2 days later, as Terra's voice traveled back toward human space, their emergency channel burst to life. Commander Blake answered the call and went pale. Captain, he said, his voice barely steady. New Dakota is gone. Gone? Jake asked. The planet is ... sterile. No life signs. No energy readings. Nothing but dead rock. 2 million people lived. There yesterday. Lisa closed her eyes and took a shaky breath. It's starting. Jake looked at the star charts, showing their route home. Dozens of human colonies lay scattered across space, and according to Lisa's data, many of them sat near ancient weapon sites. Send a message to Earth Command, he ordered. Tell them the galaxy chose not to listen, and tell them ... He paused, watching the stars. Tell them we tried to do this the easy way. The first Void engine had awakened, and humanity was alone. 6 months after New Dakota died, General Patricia Hayes stood in the war room beneath Earth's surface. The walls showed maps of human space, with red marks spreading like a disease. Each red mark was a dead world. How many now? She asked Dr. Alex Chun, who sat at a computer terminal surrounded by data screens. 4 worlds completely sterilized, Alex replied without looking up. 3 more showing early activation signatures. The Void engines are waking up faster than we predicted. General Hayes nodded grimly. She had spent 30 years in the military, fighting pirates and dealing with natural disasters. But this was different. This was watching her own species slowly die while the galaxy refused to help. Lieutenant Colonel Maya Rodriguez walked into the room carrying a stack of reports. "The evacuation requests have been denied again," she said. "The Galactic Council says we're violating traffic control laws by moving ships without permission." "Traffic control laws?" Hayes repeated slowly. "They think we're worried about traffic laws while our people are dying." Dr. Chun finally looked up from his computer. "It gets worse. 3 days ago, human evacuation ships near the Centauri system were fired on by Korthic patrols. They said we were conducting unauthorized military movements." Hayes felt something cold settle in her stomach. "They shot at evacuation ships?" "Disabled 2 transports and forced them to return to port," Maya confirmed. 15,000 civilians. Who could have been saved? Hayes walked to the main display and stared at the spreading red marks. When she spoke, her voice was quiet but steady. "Activate Protocol Lazarus." Maya and Alex both went silent. Protocol Lazarus was a military doctrine that most people hoped would never be used. It had been created during humanity's early years. In space, when they realized they might face threats that could destroy their entire species, the protocol had one simple rule: if humanity faced extinction while being abandoned by potential allies, then survival became the only law that mattered. "General," Alex said carefully, "Protocol Lazarus means we stop following galactic law entirely." "Galactic law just got our evacuation ships shot at," Hayes replied. "Galactic law says we can't save our own people, so we're done with galactic law." She turned to Maya. "How long would it take to train special forces units for operations outside human space? If we use the new technologies from the Prometheus project? 6 weeks for basic certification. 3 months for full deployment readiness." Hayes nodded. "Do it? And Maya?" "These won't be peacekeeping forces. They'll be soldiers built for war." Across the room, Alex was already opening files that had been locked away for years. The Prometheus project had started as a scientific research program to study the ancient Void engines. But when humanity realized they couldn't stop the weapons, the project had taken a different direction. If they couldn't prevent the architect technology from destroying worlds, maybe they could learn to use it themselves. "The energy manipulation systems are ready for testing," Alex reported. "We've successfully reverse-engineered 3 major components from the Void engine technology." He brought up holographic displays showing sleek new devices. First, solar lance weapons. They can destabilize a star's fusion process and cause it to go supernova. Second, quantum ripper drives that let ships phase through solid matter. Third, extinction codes that can override most alien computer systems. General Hayes studied the weapons with a soldier's eye. "How effective are they?" "The solar lance can destroy an entire star system. The quantum ripper makes our ships nearly impossible to stop or catch. The extinction codes can shut down alien ships, space stations, even planetary defense networks." "And how many can we build?" Alex smiled for the first time in months. "As many as we need. The architect technology is incredibly efficient. One small device can power weapons that would normally require a battleship's entire energy system." Engineer Bob Tucker's voice came over the communication system from the orbital shipyards. "General, the first Harbinger-class ships are ready for final testing." Hayes opened a video link to the shipyards. On the screen, she could see massive ships unlike anything humanity had ever built before. They were black and angular, designed not for exploration or even defense, but for absolute destruction. "Tell me about them, Bob," Hayes said. Bob's face appeared on screen, tired but proud. Each harbinger carries enough firepower to sterilize a dozen worlds. They're built with quantum ripper technology, so they can appear anywhere without warning. And they're automated, General. Once you give them a target, they don't need crews. How many? 50 completed, with another 100 in production. We're building them in hidden facilities throughout human space. If Earth falls, the harbingers will still be out there. General Hayes felt a grim satisfaction. Humanity had learned hard lessons about trusting others for their survival. This time, if they died, they wouldn't die alone. Maya returned to the war room, leading a group of soldiers who looked different from any human military unit. They wore armor that seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal, and their eyes had a strange gleam that suggested cybernetic enhancement. The first Reaper units are ready for deployment, Maya announced. 24 soldiers equipped with architect-derived technology. They can operate in environments that would kill normal humans, and their weapons can penetrate any known alien defenses. One of the Reapers, a woman named Captain Linda Burke, stepped forward. We are ready to go wherever you need us, General. Hayes looked at the transformed soldiers. 6 months ago, they had been normal humans. Now they were something more, changed by alien technology that humanity had learned to control. Your first mission will be intelligence gathering, Hayes told them. We need to know everything about alien military capabilities, political structures, and planetary defenses. But remember, you're not just scouts, you're also a message. What kind of message? Linda asked. That humanity isn't the same species. That asked politely for help 6 months ago. Dr. Chun brought up another display showing evacuation plans. We're moving the civilian population to fortress worlds in the outer systems. Hidden colonies with heavy defenses and supply stockpiles. If we lose the war, at least some humans will survive. And Earth? Hayes asked. We're leaving automated systems behind, Alex explained. If Earth is attacked, they'll broadcast a final message to the Galactic Council. Hayes approved the message with a touch of her hand. It was simple and direct. You were warned. You chose not to listen. Now you will learn why that was a mistake. 3 weeks later, the second human evacuation attempt was made near the frontier world of Harrison's Hope. This time, when Korthic ships tried to stop the human transports, they found themselves facing vessels that could phase through there. Weapons fire and return attacks that cut through their shields like paper. The Korthic patrol ships were completely destroyed. The human transports completed their evacuation and disappeared into quantum space before reinforcements could arrive. The galaxy's first taste of what humanity had become lasted exactly 17 minutes. General Hayes received the battle report while standing in the command center of humanity's new military headquarters. Around her, officers coordinated the movement of ships, supplies, and weapons that the galaxy had never seen before. The Korthic Empire has filed an official complaint with the Galactic Council, Maya reported. They're calling it an unprovoked attack on lawful patrol vessels. Hayes almost smiled. Send them our response. The response was brief. Human evacuation ships will no longer ask permission to save human lives. Any attempt to stop them will be considered an act of war. The message was signed not by Earth's diplomatic corps, but by the newly formed human military command. The galaxy was about to learn that some species became very dangerous when they had nothing left to lose. Admiral Carol Wright watched the tactical display as red warning lights blinked across the galaxy. 17 more worlds had gone silent in the past week. The void engines were no longer slowly awakening. They were racing toward full activation. But the alien powers still refused to believe the threat was real. Intelligence report from the Galactic Council meeting, announced Dr. Sam Johnson as he entered the command center. His face was grim. They voted on the final solution. Carol turned from the display. Final solution? Complete extermination of humanity. They blame us for activating the ancient weapons. The Zephyrians convinced the Council that we're some kind of galactic plague that needs to be removed. Carol felt ice in her veins. How long do we have? Korthic fleets are already moving toward human space. 300 warships, including their planetary bombardment units. The Zephyrians are coordinating the attack through their telepathic networks, and the Veil Consortium is providing advanced energy weapons designed specifically to break through our quantum defenses. Colonel Anna Clark spoke from her position at the communications station. They're not just planning to defeat us. They want to make sure no human survives anywhere in the galaxy. Carol walked to her command chair and activated the fleet-wide communication system. Throughout human space, thousands of officers waited for her words. All units, this is Admiral Wright. Authorization code Omega 77. Activate the Harbinger Protocol. Across the galaxy, hidden human ships that had been waiting in dark space for months suddenly powered up their systems. Each Harbinger vessel was a masterpiece of destruction, built with one purpose, to ensure that if humanity died, they would not die alone. Captain Nick Davis commanded the strike force heading toward the Zephyrian home system. His ship, this final warning, carried enough firepower to crack a planet, but that wasn't his target. The Zephyrians had made their choice when they decided humanity was a disease to be cured. Quantum Ripper Drive online, reported his navigator. We'll reach the Zephyrian system in 6 hours. Good, Nick replied. Make sure the message recorders are working. I want them to know exactly why this is happening. At the same time, Colonel, Clark was leading ground assault teams to capture alien leaders. Not to kill them. That would be too easy. The humans wanted the aliens to watch what they had chosen when they decided to commit genocide. Her Reaper units moved through the Korthak military headquarters like ghosts. Their architect-enhanced armor let them walk through walls, and their weapons could disable entire security systems with a single shot. Target acquired, she whispered into her communication device. We have the Korthik Military Command Council. The Korthik generals were massive reptilian creatures, each one capable of tearing a normal human apart with their bare claws. But they sat perfectly still as Clark's soldiers surrounded them, because their own weapons wouldn't work against human technology anymore. You will watch, Clark told them simply. You will see what you chose when you decided to kill us all instead of listening to our warnings. Dr. Johnson activated the Stellar Extinction Protocol from a hidden research station. The plan was elegant and terrible. Use the architect technology to trigger supernovas in alien home systems. If humanity couldn't save the galaxy from the void engines, they would at least make sure the aliens shared their fate. Solar Lance systems are online, he reported to Admiral Wright. We have targeting solutions for 43 major alien systems. Begin with the Zephyrian homeworld, Wright ordered. Let them use their telepathic abilities to feel their star dying. Captain Davis watched through his ship's sensors as the Solar Lance beam struck the Zephyrian sun. The ancient star had burned steadily for billions of years, but the human weapon disrupted its fusion process in a matter of minutes. All Zephyrian vessels, this is Captain Nick Davis of Earth. He broadcast on all frequencies. Your leaders chose to exterminate humanity rather than work with us to stop the void engines. This is what that choice looks like. The Zephyrian star began to collapse on itself, then exploded outward in a supernova that would be visible from across the galaxy. 8 billion Zephyrians died in an instant, along with their ancient telepathic networks that had guided galactic politics for thousands of years. But the humans weren't finished. The Korthik Empire controlled 17 star systems, each one defended by massive space stations and fleets of warships. Human Harbinger vessels appeared in each system simultaneously, their quantum ripper drives allowing them to bypass every defense. Colonel Clark forced the captured Korthic generals to watch as their capital world died. The human assault wasn't random destruction. It was calculated to show the aliens exactly what they had chosen. "We offered to save your worlds," she told them, as explosions lit up the planet below. "We gave you the data, the evidence, the proof. All we asked was for you to listen. Instead, you decided we were the enemy." The Korthic capital's artificial black hole generators, meant to power their planetary shields, were overloaded by human extinction codes. The planet didn't just die. It was pulled apart and consumed by gravitational forces that turned matter into energy. Meanwhile, the Veil Consortium learned that energy beings weren't immune to human vengeance. Their trade hubs throughout the galaxy were hit by harmonic resonance weapons that disrupted their energy forms. Dozens of consortium entities simply stopped existing as their energy patterns were scattered beyond repair. Admiral Wright received status reports from across the galaxy. Zephyrian homeworld confirmed destroyed. Korthic capital system eliminated. 47 Veil Consortium trade hubs offline. Casualties on our side? She asked. Minimal. The aliens never expected us to have this kind of technology. Their defenses were designed to fight conventional weapons, not architect-derived systems. Dr. Johnson brought up a display showing the progression of destruction. Half the galaxy was now either dead or in chaos as refugees fled the human war machine. Alien governments that had existed for millennia were collapsing as their homeworlds burned. "The remaining species are trying to surrender," he reported. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies, asking for mercy." Wright studied the tactical display. The galaxy that had condemned humanity to extinction was now begging for its own survival. But the void engines were still activating, still moving toward the moment when they would sterilize every inhabited world. "Send them our response," Wright ordered. The message went out to every surviving alien government in the galaxy. It was simple and direct. You had your chance to listen. You chose to kill us instead. Now you'll live with that choice, if you live at all. But even as human forces continued their campaign of destruction, the deeper threat remained. The ancient void. Engines were feeding on the massive energy expenditure of the Galactic War. Each explosion, each destroyed star, each dead world made the architect weapons stronger. Dr. Johnson pulled Wright aside privately. "Admiral, we have a problem. The galaxy-wide conflict is accelerating the void engine activation sequence. All this destruction is making them more powerful." Wright looked at the tactical display showing human victories across dozens of systems. They were winning the war against the aliens, but they might be dooming the galaxy in the process. How long? Until the void engines reach full activation? At current energy levels? 6 weeks, maybe less. Wright nodded grimly. Humanity had successfully punished those who betrayed them, but the original threat remained. Soon, it wouldn't matter who won the war. The ancient weapons would finish what they started billions of years ago. The galaxy was burning, just as the humans had promised. But the fire might consume everything, including the species that lit it. The galaxy was dying faster than anyone had imagined possible. Dr. Lisa Park stood in the research station's main laboratory, surrounded by displays showing energy readings from across known space. Every screen told the same terrible story. The void engines were almost ready to complete their ancient purpose. "The war accelerated everything," she said to Admiral Wright, who had come to the hidden station for an emergency meeting. "All the energy we released destroying alien worlds has fed directly into the Architect weapon network. We have maybe 3 weeks before they activate completely." Wright studied the data with the same calm expression she had worn, while ordering the destruction of entire civilizations. "Can we stop them?" Dr. Alex Chun looked up from his computer terminal. His face was pale and tired from months of desperate research. There's one possibility. The architect technology responds to what we might call sacrifice and determination. Someone would need to pilot a ship directly into the central control system at the galactic core and manually shut down the network. What are the chances of survival? Wright asked. 0, Alex replied simply. The energy levels at the core would destroy any ship and kill anyone inside instantly. But it would work. The void engine network would shut down permanently. Before Wright could respond, her communication device activated. Captain Jake Morrison's face appeared on the screen, calling from Terra's voice somewhere in deep space. Admiral, we're receiving surrender broadcasts from every remaining alien government, Jake reported. They're offering unconditional surrender and complete cooperation. Wright almost smiled. Too little, too late. Actually, Lisa interrupted. We might need their help. The void engines are too powerful for us to stop alone now. If we're going to save what's left of the galaxy, we need every resource we can get. Wright was quiet for a long moment. The human fleet was still scattered across the galaxy, completing the destruction of alien worlds. She could finish the job. Eliminate every species that had betrayed humanity, and let the void engines complete what the war had started. Or she could try to save the galaxy that had tried to destroy her people. Send a message to all remaining alien governments, she finally ordered. Tell them they have one chance to prove they deserve to survive. 3 days later, representatives from 47 alien species gathered at a space station in neutral territory. Most of their governments had been destroyed, their homeworlds reduced to spreading clouds of plasma and debris. The survivors looked at Admiral Wright with expressions of terror and desperate hope. You want our help to stop the void engines, said a Zephyrian refugee, who was one of the few survivors of his species. Why would you save us after what we did? Wright looked at the assembled aliens with cold eyes. Because someone has to be left alive to remember what happens when you don't listen to human warnings. The negotiations took 18 hours. The aliens agreed to every human demand. Complete surrender, acknowledgement of human leadership in any rebuilt galaxy, and constitutional provisions that no species could ever again be abandoned to face extinction alone. But even as the talks continued, the void engines grew stronger. Entire star systems were beginning to show signs of energy drain as the ancient weapons prepared for their final activation. Dr. Chun brought the latest readings to Wright during a break in negotiations. Admiral, we're out of time. The central void engine at the galactic core is starting its final sequence. If someone doesn't stop it in the next 72 hours, nothing will matter. Wright nodded and walked back to where Captain Morrison was, waiting with his ship's crew. Jake, I need to ask you to do something that will probably kill you. Jake looked at her steadily. The suicide mission to the galactic core? How did you know? Because it's the only option left. And because it's exactly the kind of thing humans do when everyone else has given up. Jake paused and looked at his crew. Terra's voice got us into this mess when we brought the first warning to the Galactic Council. It seems right that we should be the ones to finish it. Dr. Chun spent the next day modifying Terra's voice with every piece of architect technology they could install. The ship became a hybrid of human engineering and alien science, designed for one purpose: to survive long enough to reach the galactic core and shut down the void engine network. As Jake prepared for departure, Admiral Wright pulled him aside. You know this won't bring back the worlds we've lost. No, Jake agreed, but maybe it'll make sure this never happens again. Terra's voice launched toward the galactic core with a crew of 12 volunteers. The journey took 36 hours through quantum space, with the ship's modified systems barely holding together under the strain as they approached the massive energy storms surrounding the galactic center. Jake opened a communication channel to broadcast on all frequencies throughout the galaxy. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the human vessel Terra's Voice," he said, his voice calm despite knowing he was about to die. 18 months ago, humanity came to the Galactic Council with a warning. We told you about the Void engines. We offered to work together to stop them. You chose fear over hope and pride over survival. The ship shook as it entered the energy field surrounding the central Void engine. Ancient technology that had been dormant for millions of years was now fully awake and preparing to complete its deadly purpose. "We kept our promise anyway," Jake continued. "Humanity offered to save you all. When you refused our help and tried to destroy us instead, we showed you what happens when you force us to choose between compassion and extinction. But we're still going to save you." Terra's voice penetrated deeper into the energy storm. The ship's hull began to glow from the intense radiation, and several systems started failing. Through the main window, Jake could see the central Void engine, a structure larger than Earth's moon, covered in patterns of light that hurt to look at directly. "The galaxy will survive," Jake said, "but remember this moment. Remember that we warned you what would happen if you forced us to fight for our survival. Next time someone offers to help you, listen when they speak." The ship's final systems began shutting down as they reached the engine's core. Jake's crew worked frantically to input the shutdown codes that Dr. Chun had given them, racing against time as their bodies began to fail from radiation exposure. "Shutdown sequence initiated," reported his navigator with her last breath. The central Void engine's lights flickered and began to dim. Across the galaxy, hundreds of other ancient weapons felt the signal and powered down. Their deadly purpose finally ended after millions of years. Jake managed one final transmission before Terra's voice was consumed by the energy storm. "This is what sacrifice looks like. Remember it." 6 months later, Dr. Lisa Park stood before what remained of the Galactic Council. The assembly hall was mostly empty now. 60% of all galactic civilization had been destroyed in the war, and by the Void engines that had activated before being stopped. "Humanity offers our assistance in rebuilding the galaxy," she announced, "to the handful of surviving species, but under new terms. Humans will lead the reconstruction efforts. The new galactic constitution will ensure that no species can ever again be abandoned to face extinction alone." A Korthic survivor raised one clawed hand. "What guarantee do we have that humans won't simply finish destroying us?" Lisa looked at him with eyes that had seen too much death. "The same guarantee you gave us when we asked for help 18 months ago. None at all. The difference is, we actually keep our promises." She walked to the center of the hall, where Jake Morrison had once stood with his warning about the Void engines. "We tried to save you with warnings. When that failed, we saved you with fire. The choice of how we save you next time is entirely yours." The few remaining alien representatives voted unanimously to accept human leadership. They had learned, far too late, that some species should never be pushed beyond their limits. The galaxy would rebuild under human guidance, and every child born in the new civilization would learn the story of the species that warned everyone about the danger, was betrayed for their efforts, and saved the galaxy anyway. The lesson was simple. When humans offer help, it's wise to accept it the first time.